500 years of football expertise and the future of the game. Powered by Sumer Sports. Come together, breaking down the big board with the guys that were in the room. On today's panel, we have Mike Mayock, a former NFL safety and former general manager of the Oakland Raiders. We are also joined by Mark Ellenz, Sumer Sports senior quarterback evaluator and former director of college scouting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're bringing it all together with the most sophisticated sports technology ever engineered. This is the Evaluation Quarterbacks.
Every draft, 32 teams go looking for the same thing: a franchise quarterback, a leader, a field general. But here's the thing: every scout has a different definition of what that means. Is it arm talent, pocket presence, poise under pressure, or something you can't see on tape until the lights are brightest? In every game, everyone's looking for the guy. The hard part is knowing when you found him. Welcome to the Evaluation. I'm your host, Etorre Ewen, and today we're talking the premier position in all of football. We're talking quarterbacks. And I am joined by Mark Ellenz. And Mike Mayock.
Yes, sir.
Mike, let's go through your first player eval.
You know, I would make the argument from your intro that not only is it the most important position in football, I think it's in all of professional sports, okay? And I think the best place to start is the guy that just kind of had a magical mystery run this year, and that's Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. 6'5", 225, tall, lean frame. This kid coming out of high school, not highly recruited. He goes to Cal in 24 a year ago. He goes 6-5 and takes 41 sacks. Took a beating. Goes in the portal. Nobody was talking about this kid. Now, a year later, what do we have? He wins a Natty. He won the Heisman. He won the Davey O'Brien. He won every award you could win, leading a team to a national championship. And now the entire scouting community is looking at him in a completely different way. So let's start from a scout's perspective. Physical skill set, like his size, somewhat of a slight frame, very quick release. He's got a good arm, but not a cannon. Not a dynamic athlete, but he's a tough kid that can get north and south. We saw that in the national championship game, 4th and 5. Not only did he get the first down, folks, he scored the touchdown. Now, pocket mechanics. I love that his eyes are up. He wants to beat you with his arm, which is what an NFL quarterback should be thinking first and foremost. Also, I like that he protects the football. This year, 41 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, and he doesn't put the ball on the ground very often. Here's the key to me: nervous system. What makes you tick in the most important games and times within the games? He embraces big moments. Nothing's too big for him. The games I did were all on the road against tough, well-coached team. The Penn State game blew me away. Final drive, ball's in his hands, clock management, and he fit every throw into a tiny window. The only negative I have is all the sacks he takes. I think he lacks escapability when the pocket breaks down, but I do like that he protects the football. What do you think?
A couple of the aspects I think he does really well: very good short and medium accuracy, flashes the long ball. If the corner's playing soft, he's taking it.
Yep.
He's playing up, they're going to run the ball. He's just very efficient in that manner.
Where did you have him before this whole championship run?
I think he's got a good skill set. I don't see a great skill set. And I had him as kind of like a backup, quality backup, maybe spot starter. But as I'm going through the year and trying peeking at him in TV and doing a little bit extra film, I'm like, okay, he's growing on me, because when he needs poise at the most important time, he shows it.
So here's the question, okay? And I think you'll get a kick out of this too. Is kind of like one of the things in the scouting community we have to be worried about when a kid flashes in 1 year and takes off in the playoffs like he did. Is it sustainable? Or do you go back to your original judgment of him and say, you had him as a spot starter, I had him as a functional starter, now we're putting him up here and saying, is he the first pick in the draft? It's a real concern, and every general manager in the league has to manage that process.
There's a lot of that discussion a function of a lot of the quarterbacks coming into this class who were highly vaunted and respected, not panning out, and maybe this being a bit of a weaker class than we thought?
Yeah, but that's the trap. And put yourself in the head coach and the GM's mind. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're just another day closer to getting fired. Reality in the NFL, right? So all of a sudden, all these quarterbacks drop out. There's no Manning, there's no Dante Moore, it's not a great quarterback class. So are we going to artificially push guys up value-wise? Happens every year.
Correct. And I think the big thing too is, if you're the number one pick in the draft and you're seriously taking him, you have to be firm in your belief that this kid is a franchise quarterback. I think this kid's a good quarterback. I myself am a little bit leery that is he really worth the number 1 pick in the draft.
Mark, take us through your first player eval.
Cole Payton from North Dakota State. He's a 5th-year senior, first-year starter. Played kind of as a gadget quarterback, running back in the past. Hurt his non-throwing shoulder a year ago, so he missed half the season. But to his credit, in 5 seasons, he scored 52 touchdowns, 31 of them running in his career. It's North Dakota State, it's FCS, but you turn this kid's tape on though, and it's impressive. He's 6'3", 235 pounds. He's a big, athletic kid. He's got outstanding agility, and he's going to run. I think this kid's going to test really, really well. He can run the ball. He's a dual threat. He can escape. He's got a really strong, very good arm. He's got a very quick release. It's left-handed. It's a little unorthodox, but he does get it out quick. Very accurate. I thought this kid had excellent vertical touch. There's throws that he makes either under pressure or from the pocket on the move, and it is in the bucket. He's a dominant, smaller school player. I think he's an ascending athlete. He's very versatile. The big question is for him, 1-year starter, small school, can he make the jump? I think this kid's ceiling is super high to the point to where I think he's the most talented, gifted quarterback in this draft.
Wow.
You just have some concerns.
Wait a minute, and that's a statement right there.
That it is.
I got to stop you for a second, okay? I'm putting my GM hat on now. If you were a GM, how high could you actually take the kid? You just told me that you think he's the best quarterback in the class.
Right, I think he's the most talented one, but that's the thing. That's what comes into play when you're the GM. You have to take all that information.
Dude,
collect it
I
together.
just knighted you.
So-
You're the GM.
So,
Go ahead. How high would you take? Like if you needed a quarterback, and here we go, we need the quarterbacks, and you're picking number 8 or 10 or 12. Are you picking them?
I think in the right system, with some more seasoning, some more development, just more exposure, experience, this kid could be really good. I think he's better than the previous North Dakota State quarterbacks that they've had, and they've had 5 that have been drafted.
What you just saw was a little glimpse into a draft room. Okay, he read his report. He was questioned about it a little bit. He had to defend it. And it's really cool the way area scouts or whatever scouts are answering those questions. How much do you like a kid? Are you willing to stand up on the table and tell the whole table that Cole frickin' Payton is a first-round pick and we should take him? That's career changing one way or the other.
Right. Now it's time for our first deep dive from Sumer Sports data analyst and football integration lead, Sam Bruckhouse. Sam, take it away.
The quarterback prediction problem is the deepest depth of football, period, probably of sports. It's one of the hardest things to do. We collect excellent data. When it comes down to it, the guys have to execute. So let's start with Fernando Mendoza. This is a guy who, while at Cal, the analytics kind of started leading. They liked some of his downfield passing. In particular, something that AI can catch really, really well is a passer's ability to go downfield and hit an optimal receiver. We're always looking at his completion probabilities, yardage expectations, and when a guy decides to make that decision and sling it down the field, we can tell if that's an optimal decision. And I think that's really gonna make a difference at the next level, where that deep passing does separate people. The other thing he excels at is his scramble ability. He's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but he gets north and south, and he's able to find expected points added. He makes big plays in the scramble game, even though it's not necessarily his calling card. He is an impact starter at that trait. Sack avoidance is the biggest problem. We can break this down into sack probabilities second by second, and he really does not do a good job after 2 seconds. So those sacks are pretty much on him. And I'm a little worried, particularly when that pressure comes, when he escapes. Completion probability, not extremely good when he is trying to escape out of the pocket. He's gonna have to work on that a little bit. Cole Payton is another very interesting case. He has a top perfect 10 trait to him, and that is his scramble ability. EPA, the biggest we've seen in history. And as a result, he can really go into a league and contribute immediately. The problem is that level adjustment just has to come in. His time to throw is extremely high. That's gonna have to come down. That's a rough trait for him, is that release quickness. And if he can put it all together, I think he does have the traits to be an NFL quarterback. There's just some concerns given the level adjustment for him.
Thank you, Sam. Mike, we have a lot more left on your board.
I've got Carson Beck, 6th-year player. First tape I saw in Georgia, his first year as a starter, it was really good tape, to the point where I had in the notes in big red at the end, top 5 pick if he ascends in 24. That means something to me. That's what I saw. 24 comes, and it was a major regression, to the point where even though they won a lot of football games, he lost his confidence. His accuracy went downhill. Decision-making was really bad. That's where he needs to improve. Fortitude. Give him a good. He's a good leader. He does the things right. All the right things matter to him. Accuracy, excellent, all 3 levels. Playmaking and mobility, he's a good athlete. He can get out of trouble, he can escape sacks, and he can get you first downs with his legs. And finally, durability. He's a 6th-year player. Didn't play his first 3, but he answered the count every week the final 3 years. Excellent durability. Okay? So as much as I like all of his physical traits, and I do, I get down the nervous system. Remember we talked about that with Mendoza, how much I love it? This goes the other way for me with the evaluation of Beck. Okay? They had 3 losses this year, 7 interceptions in those 3 games. Okay, point number 1. Point number 2, situational football. When a field goal will suffice, go back and watch Louisville with 4 interceptions. Opportunity to get a field goal, tie a game. No, he's trying to push it down the field, makes mistakes. 4 interceptions, okay? So the more I saw, I give him a ton of credit. Let's step back for a second. Ton of credit for his record as a starting quarterback. I love all of his traits, but for me, if I'm sitting in the GM seat, based on his nervous system in big games, would I look at him and say in the 3rd round, like that would be a really kind of intriguing pick if he was there, because maybe you develop him behind a quarterback and just try to get his confidence up. And I'm into all those things, but 1st round is way too rich for me.
Obviously, the turnovers are an issue that needs to be mitigated. Yep. The kid's talented, but I'm with you. I think this guy's somewhere in there. He's at least a functional starter. Could be a really good starter down the road.
I think we see him the same way.
Mark, who do you have next?
We got Simpson from Alabama. Impressive young man. I think he's an underrated athlete. He's not called upon to run a lot, but when he can do it. He can scramble. He's very cerebral. Pre-snap reads. He's adjusting the line of scrimmage. He's making checks. He's making audibles. He knows where he wants to go to the ball. He's in command. And I think some of that also stems from that his father is a longtime head coach at the University of Tennessee, Martin. Decision-making, outstanding, probably his best quality. Very decisive, precise, knows where he wants to go, in command. Fortitude and leadership, again, outstanding. Ball security is good. Does have some fumbles. There's 5 games in a row where he had the fumbles. Not all of them are on him. Some was broken down protections where he's getting hit as he's throwing the ball. Playmaking ability is good, and his accuracy is very good at all 3 levels. Just a lot of things that I like about this kid. I think he's a very good player. He can make decisions under pressure. The concern again, here we are, only a 1-year starter.
Can we talk ceiling and floor?
Sure.
How good could he be given the right infrastructure around him? And what's the floor for him? Is he a backup?
I think this kid's a starter down the road. He kind of reminds me of Bo Nix, even though without 64 starts or whatever it is.
I was just going to say, it seems like more and more quarterbacks that come in and play quickly have the most amount of starts in college football. Brock Purdy, what did he have? 50, 60 starts, at Iowa State. Those things matter.
Thank you, Mark. Sam, don't make me beg, but I need another deep dive.
Look, I think this is the part of the quarterback class this year that really shows why these decisions are so hard, because typically at other positions, you want to see certified blue chip traits, E. You want to see guys that are in the 99th percentile, because that's truly what the NFL is. The reality is the quarterback position in particular this year, we just don't necessarily see that. We do see an impact trait from Carson Beck. He throws catchable balls. The problem, as highlighted, is sometimes those balls are being caught by the other team. He does have touch. It does show up on the AI. We have real questions about his athleticism. He is a canny scrambler. He can figure it out. But when you have Myles Garrett chasing after you, I just don't know what his athleticism is going to look like at the next level. I think he's going to be a true pocket passer. You go to Simpson, we don't have any of those blue chip traits. We do have a couple quality traits. He has racked up a lot of expected points added, which means he's getting what needs to occur on the play. He is making successful plays when scrambling. We have just kind of general concerns, but these players are kind of pushed towards the middle. And so it'll be interesting to see if teams really feel that need and launch these guys up if their scouts really like him, or if teams are going to take a shot on the quarterback in the mid rounds, maybe they fall down, they become a little bit better value.
Thank you, Sam. Mike, you got one more player for us.
There was so much surrounding Arch Manning heading into the year. He's not going to be in this year's draft. He'll be a headliner going into next season. But let's talk about what we saw this year. It's worth a conversation, okay? And he's listed at 6'4", 219. Next year, he'll be a redshirt junior at the University of Texas, okay? He's 12-3 overall as a starter. But here's what I think we need to keep in mind as scouts, is that this pedigree thing cuts both ways. It's awesome to have Eli and Peyton as your uncles, It's great that he's named after his grandfather, Archie Manning, another first-round pick. His dad was a high-level wideout at Ole Miss till he got hurt. All that's really cool, but the expectation level coming into this year I thought was completely unrealistic for a kid that had 2 starts. I didn't think it was fair, and I was really intrigued to see how he would handle it, okay? So he comes out against Ohio State, rough day for the Longhorns and for Arch. It looked like he hadn't played much quarterback. The year before, one of his starts was Mississippi State. He was impeccable, 26 for 31, but it was great pass protection. You could just see the pedigree in the pocket, and he's picking apart, he's reading, it's on time and it's accurate. So here's what I saw from a physical skill set this year. Like his size, quick release, sometimes it's a 3/4, sometimes it gets a little too low. He's got a good arm, he can drive, he can layer. He's a very good athlete. A lot of their offense is around planned quarterback runs. Would I call him dynamic? In no way, but he's a very good athlete. He extends plays, his eyes are up, he wants to throw, but he can beat you with his legs. So I'm not gonna put a grade on him today, okay, because I don't have to do that till next year, but we're gonna get a clear look this coming year with better pass protection, who this kid really can be, which ultimately I suspect is gonna be a high-level quarterback, but I'm not ready to bang a table, and I'm not ready to put a grade on it.
Mark, who's your next player?
Dante Moore, quarterback from Oregon. Dante has recently decided that he's going to return to school, but he's a very talented quarterback who I think if he would have come out this year would have been in the mix. He's a very athletic quarterback. He's got a very good arm. He has very good accuracy, short and intermediate. He'll flash the deep ball. A lot of upside with this kid. Young, versatile player, can fit in different systems, as opposed where Ty decided he wanted to go a different way. This young man decided to return to school, and I think it's a good choice because he's really just a first-year starter this year at Oregon. He's a transfer from UCLA. He started, I think, 5 games as a true freshman, but he's only 20 years old. And I think for him, going back to Oregon, they're going to restock or reload with talent. He's going to get more experience, more reps. Whereas I think Ty just decided that, hey, he's a little bit older. The talent level of Alabama might not be as restocked as Oregon might have, and he wants to kind of strike while it's hot. If you look at some other quarterbacks who we aren't not talking about this year, who are big-name guys, and he might not want to take that risk of falling into that category. So you can go one of 2 ways with both these guys. Neither decision I think is wrong. It's just a comfort feeling in what they want to do.
Thank you, Mark. Sam, let's hear your last deep dive.
This is 2 really unique cases, Eve, because you got 2 players that are returning, and I think they probably would have been the number 1 and 2 picks. Let's start off with Arch Manning. This is a really unique data case here. At the beginning of this year, Arch Manning was the number 1 consensus big board player without even having played a snap. And I think that initial evaluation will stay as we continue through next year. And here's the reason why. He does have a blue chip trait. He is excellent at scrambling. That's the reason why he was a 5-star recruit, and I think his name could have been anything. He still would have been a 5-star recruit because he has that ability. What I'm really worried about is what Mike highlighted, sack avoidance. This is not a rough trait. This is all the way down there in the 2s. Now, that's after 2 seconds. He had a high time to throw. It really is a question of that pass protection. Did he just know that he had to make a play every single time? I want to see that pass protection get better. I want to see if he can drop his time to throw a little bit with that confidence. He's going to have to fix that up. Dante Moore is kind of the separate case. Here's a guy who transferred from UCLA. He's going to be an excellent data point about these high-level quarterbacks who transfer. And he just didn't flash a ton. And what I've heard when I talk to the scouts matches what the AI says. They just said he wasn't ready and he didn't flash much. He was able to throw a catchable ball. He did have a large sum of catchable balls this year, but it was a lot of stuff in the middle, and I think he made the right decision to come back.
And I would say this too, is if you go back and look at his games that he played against Indiana, he did not play very well. So that may have factored into his decision as well.
Thank you, gentlemen. There's still a lot of talent left on the board, so let's hear from Sumer Sports senior analyst Sean Syed for some rapid-fire evaluations.
All right, let's get going on the lightning round. Garrett Nussmeier is a tough pocket passer from LSU with good short throw accuracy and adequate arm strength, but some downfield inconsistency has shown up on his tape. Nussmeier shows flashes layering the ball on in-breaking routes, but his footwork will be a focus at the next level. Cade Klubnik is a good athlete with the ability to escape quickly and has shown touch on short throws. Some inconsistency in his decision-making will be a focus as he develops. Jalon Daniels is a competitive dual-threat quarterback that has explosive playmaking ability. His arm pops when his feet are in rhythm, but he will have to steady his play to avoid the roller coaster. Drew Allar can get velocity and range on his deep ball, and he has agility and balance on his runs. He can press a bit too much at times and has had some erratic throws. He has the traits, but will need to grow into the position. Taylen Green has arm talent and can run by the entire defense, but his high highs are matched by low lows. Sawyer Robertson has good arm strength from the pocket, but will look to clean up some streaky misses at the next level.
Earlier, I sat down with Sumer Sports CEO Larissa Horton. Here's our next segment, the SAI Check, powered by Sumer Sports. So Larissa, I have to say, I am so excited to be able to sit down with you, I guess we're standing actually, and break down the Sumer Tech that you've developed. I believe we're going to be analyzing a Jalon Daniels scramble?
It's so exciting because he is actually exemplifying so many skills that are hard to do and really showing his elite level. In this particular case, we saw the blitz coming. It was a 75% chance of a blitz. Sack was coming, and he was able to get out of that sack. His sack avoidance was great. Normally, you avoid the sack, but you don't know what to do next. I mean, you've been there, there's a whole scramble, everyone has to react. But he stayed calm, he found a pass that was available downfield, and he took a pass that had a very low likeliness of being successful. He made it, executed it, and was able to get a great gain.
And how does your tech determine probability?
Well, we have to go learn first. So we look at millions of plays to understand how many times have we seen the situation happen. And every time it happens, what are people doing? Where do they get stuck? How often are they able to get out of a bad situation and turn it into something successful? So that's where all of the likeliness, the probability, the chances of it being successful really comes from.
And it can also measure the probability of the defensive rush getting to the quarterback as well?
We are measuring every single person on the field, every second of the play. So the moment you're making an adjustment, we're looking at, are you doing something different than what we see as a pattern or behavior in the past?
So the Sumer AI can really do it all.
Well, it can do a lot, but we definitely need all of the experts to also still take that experienced eye and apply that on top of what the data is telling us, which are patterns that you are actually breaking in terms of breaking the model and creating that new edge.
Our next guest played 16 seasons with the New York Giants. He is a two-time Super Bowl champion and a two-time Super Bowl MVP. Please welcome to the evaluation, Eli Manning. Eli, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. It really is an honor. Let's dive right in. I was really curious, with the pedigree of your father and your brother, when you first arrived at Oxford, did you feel a lot of pressure being the guy at Ole Miss?
You know, I think there's always pressure kind of anywhere you go under those circumstances of following in my dad's footsteps, but there was probably more pressure following in Peyton's footsteps. He had just finished kind of an unbelievable career at Tennessee, up for the Heisman Trophy a couple of years, and then he's the first pick in the NFL draft. He's just finishing his second year in the NFL, and then here I come along and trying to start kind of my career in college. And so I think there's a lot of, just assumptions that, he'll just do the same thing Peyton did. He's going to have the same career and he'll put up all the same numbers and he'll jump right in and be there. And so, I wasn't ever trying to be as good as Peyton. And if I was trying to do that, it would have never worked, just because it's like, hey, he was Gatorade Player of the Year. He was up for a Heisman. He's the first pick in the NFL draft. It's like, it's hard to be better than that. So I just had to go in there and try to be a great teammate, learn, every day, get better every single day, and try to be the best version of me, the best quarterback I could be. And whatever that was, I knew I was going to give it my all, and that's all I could ask for myself.
I'm curious, was there a moment at Ole Miss where you felt overwhelmed or the things were too big in the moment? And did you learn from that moment?
No, there's definitely. I mean, my freshman year, all of a sudden, I played at a pretty small high school, 2A football. We didn't have a whole lot of different protections. We did a lot of sprint out and roll out. We never did shotgun, and all of a sudden you're in the shotgun and you have, different protections. You got protection calls, and you're trying to, kind of figure out, all right, who's blocking who, where's everybody going? Oh yeah, what's the play? And there's a motion. And so, yeah, I mean, it was so much faster. Everything was moving faster. The plays were more complex. And so it just took a little while just to learn that, to learn everything going on, to slow everything down. There's so much happening early on that, I think anyone is overwhelmed. And so I think you just had to buy into the fact that I am learning a new language. I am learning something that I've never really been part of. Playing football is not necessarily just, hey, can you throw the ball to the open receiver? It's where to go and the reads and the checks and running an offense. And I never really had to do all those things. And so I had to take the time to sit in the film room, ask great questions, and put in the time by myself and learning those things and kind of coming up with the questions and learning what I don't know.
And Eli, if you could go back to your rookie season, is there one piece of advice, knowing what you know now, that you would give yourself?
Yeah, I would probably tell myself to try to throw it to the guys that are wearing the same color jersey that I'm wearing.
That's a good one. That is a good
Sounds
one.
Simple. It's amazing how hard that is to do sometimes as a quarterback. But I think about it now. I was so afraid to take a sack or to hold on to the ball where I feel like I always had to try to create a play or throw it away. I don't want to take a sack, and you're forcing things. You're trying to get out to make a play, and because of it, you get interceptions. You fumble the ball. You turn the ball over. So I think just a little bit more of kind of knowing when the other team is in a better situation than you, and you kind of take one for the team. And I say that, and then yet some of my greatest plays, and maybe the best play of my entire career is a play where I didn't give up. I fight out of a play, and I throw it in the middle of the field, and David Tyree catches it off his helmet. And so you got to look at it both ways. Well, sometimes you gotta do those things. You got to try to create. But maybe kind of knowing, when to do it and how often to do it.
Eli, if you had the opportunity to talk to college quarterbacks, which obviously you get to, what is the most important piece of advice you give them as far as being able to make the leap to the league?
One thing I learned, everybody, can, at the college level, they can throw the ball. They can throw it hard. They can throw it far. They can make all the throws. And I think, when you go out there and you're throwing routes to your receiver, I think the easy thing to do, and you got all your guys out there, is you throw one or two of each route, and you go through the whole route tree, and you throw your hitch and your slant, your quick out, your curl, your out, your come back. You kind of go through it, and and you're so quickly, hey, let's get in, let's go run 7-on-7 and have the that competition or run plays, which is great. But I always said, hey, instead of going through the whole route tree, when you're there, your receivers, hey, pick two routes. Hey, today we're gonna run 3-step slants, and we're gonna run 15-yard comebacks, and you perfect those two routes. It's not about doing it until you get it right. It's doing it until you can't get it wrong, and where it's just so dialed in. Every receiver is running that slant the exact same way. Every receiver is running that comeback the exact same way. If they are running a little bit different, you've run it enough times where how they're going to come out of that break. You've seen their body language. You've seen everything. So when you get into practice, when you get into the game, at that point, it's muscle memory, and you just have a great feeling for what they're doing. You've perfected those routes. Hey, the next day, we'll move on to 2 new routes, or the next time we throw 2 new routes. And you kind of, instead of throwing the whole tree every day, perfect a couple routes and then move on to the other ones.
Amongst fans, what do you think is the biggest misconception about the quarterback position?
Well, I think everybody looks at arm talent. I'm not a big arm talent, guy, but I think those. Hey, it's great. It's great to have, and it is important. But I think what's more important in judging a quarterback is anticipatory throws. Hey, does the ball come out on time? Does he know where he's going with the ball? Can he throw it kind of before receivers are technically open? Can he see the openings? And those are things that make the biggest difference in the NFL. You don't have the time to sit back there and wait for guys to get open. You can't go through your progression and say, 1, he's not open. 2, he's not open. Now I get to my 3rd. You gotta speed up that process either by the coverage that you're getting through your progressions, or just seeing a guy not liking leverage and knowing that you have a good chance for this number 2 to get open, getting him to them quickly, and then also throwing the ball on time. Throwing a seam, and college you see guys hitting seams at 28 yards, 30 yards down the field. In NFL, you're hitting that seam at 18 to 20 yards down the field. You're throwing it before they're open, before they cleared those linebackers, and you're anticipating that. Yet it's still not, that's just when they're open. That's how you have to throw it. It's not throwing it blind. It's not forcing it. That's just the timing of the play.
Obviously, you had an illustrious career in New York, 16 seasons. But if you could pick one moment in your career to be defined by, what would that be?
I mean, I think 2-minute drives to go win a Super Bowl. I was fortunate enough to have two of them, and both times I got to go to a Super Bowl, and there you are with 2 minutes left to go in the game, and you're down, and you got to lead your team to go score a touchdown, which we did in both of us. So I think those are defining moments in players. Those are the biggest moments of the game. Do you get your best performance and make the plays? And I think it comes down to believing in yourself, believing in that moment, and just understanding that this is not the moment to be nervous. This is not the moment that you say to yourself, "Oh, what if I screw up here? What if I mess up?" No, you're going into those situations thinking, "I'm about to be a world champion right here. We're about to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to lead this team down on a drive and go do it." And you don't have to say it to everybody, but it's that self-belief and the fact that we had done it before in seasons and had comebacks. There's a belief amongst the team, amongst the defense, amongst the offensive linemen and receivers that, hey, this is our time. Let's just go do our job, do what we're supposed to do, trust our training, and it'll happen.
Eli, so much of the game has changed since your time first arriving in Oxford. I'm thinking about analytics and the rise of analytics. Is that something that you think you would have really benefited from early in your career?
I kind of feel like that's up to the coaches to understand and to it's the way it's coached and the way they talk to their players. Just understanding, hey, on 3rd and 7, if we're past the 50-yard line, we're in 4th down territory. So obviously we want to throw this break in and get 12 yards and get the first down. But if it's not there, hey, throw this, the 4-yard check down. If we get to 5, we're going for it. And so I think it's made the game fun, and going for it a little bit more on 4th down, you see more scoring, and it puts more pressure on the defense.
Well, Eli, it's really been a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. Thank you so much for your time and for your insight, and thank you for joining us here on The Evaluation.
Thank you. So much fun.
In today's NFL, highly drafted quarterbacks are expected to be franchise guys immediately. But given what we've seen, is this expectation too much? This is Stats in the Shadows.
Let's talk about the quarterback prediction problem. The top prize for the worst team in the league is a chance to select the best available quarterback. So fans expect that guy to immediately be an MVP level player. But what do the Stats in the Shadows say? Since 2002, rookie quarterbacks have only won 40% of the games that they started in. In fact, the number 1 pick quarterbacks from 2021 to 2025 all had their head coaches fired after their rookie year. Sure enough, their average passing figures are not that outstanding either. 10 games started, 2,262 passing yards, 12 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, similar to Aiden O'Connell, who was ultimately benched. Despite the grim averages, even quarterbacks who are ultimately given up on can still find success. Highly drafted quarterbacks who can hang around the league after switching teams average much better figures: 3,407 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions on average. We've seen this recently with players like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, who have risen from the ashes after developing with new coaches and stable environments. So while it's fun to have a shiny new quarterback, Stats in the Shadows suggest that teams who draft a can't-miss, win-now quarterback generally have more work to do before the wins start to come. That's what the data says, but is it unfair? Is it really the fault of the quarterback? Or maybe the head coach? Or is it an institutional failure?
Please welcome to the roundtable, Lindsay Rhodes of Sumer Sports.
Thank you so much for having me. By the way, this is like my dream to be able to peek over his shoulder here and look at all of these notes.
You're stealing them?
Well, this is all the stuff that like they never want us to know, right? Like when you're working for a team, this is so secretive. And so my favorite thing about this show and my opportunity to sit at the table with you guys is that you're being paid to tell us all the secrets. And so let it all come out. So quarterbacks taken early, how can we set them up to succeed? This is like the question, right?
Yeah. I characterize this whole conversation under one word, and that's fit. What is the fit? And I'm talking about on both sides of the equation, because they both have to be honest and to give the kid a chance. The kid has got to be mature enough to accept the challenge. He's got to have a good enough football IQ to understand that he's going to have to be the first one in, last one out. That's not just a cliche. Okay, especially your first year. You better be the hardest working guy in the building. And the flip side, and maybe even more importantly, what's the infrastructure from the club side?
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about the first, second, third pick. You're probably not a very good football team. So at the end of the day, I say all the time, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're just another day closer to getting fired. And sometimes the pressure to play these kids is so extensive that they play way before they should have. And Mark, I'm trying to remember, I think you went through a situation like that in Jacksonville.
Yeah, we drafted Blake Bortles, I believe, in 2014, and the plan going in was for him to just kind of sit, assimilate into the program, kind of get his feet wet. He was a 2-year starter at UCF, so it wasn't like he didn't have experience, but there was a jump there, and we started out the season. Game 3, Chad Henne wasn't playing very well. They threw Blake into the fire there, and the following week he had ended up starting. I think we ended up going 2-14, I believe, or something like that, with him starting.
Usually people that are drafting quarterbacks that high in the draft are putting them right on the field. So if you're putting somebody on the field immediately, like a Cam Ward, for instance, I sit where I sit and I'm like, I'm not judging him at all this year. Like, not at all. Like, people who overreact and ride the roller coaster of like, great throw, he's gonna be great. Oh my God, bad throw, get him out. We need to look for people talking about drafting a quarterback in Tennessee this year. I'm like, get out of here. Like, get out. Like, that's never going to happen.
You're 100% right, but it matters so much what kind of kid you're talking about. Peyton Manning, he went 3-13 his rookie year and threw more interceptions than just about any human being in the history of the NFL. He had a rough year.
But we still knew he was going to be good.
But my point is, Cam Ward is a heck of an athlete with all kinds of traits, and he still might be good. Okay, to your point, no, we're not going to go draft another quarterback. The brief synopsis, I saw this kid on tape this year, he made some really good throws. Did he make bad decisions? Yeah, he did. But really, the kid is going to determine how much he can or can't. You can wreck a rookie quarterback. Ask David Carr, who got sacked about 1,000 times as a rookie. Never the same guy again. Now, what really drives me crazy is we're having this conversation, and in the backdrop of it, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, all these guys, high picks in the NFL draft that were discarded by one or multiple teams, are coming back and having big years. Why? Because the fit's right, the play caller's right, they play defense, they run the football. Why would we expect a kid out of any college in the country to step in day one and play at a high level if the infrastructure surrounding him is no good? You can't. It's not a sustainable model.
Well, the other thing, too, is you just mentioned those players. Those guys have showed a hell of a lot of fortitude in coming back, rebounding from having negative plays, negative seasons, and it's just impressive how they've been able to change the trajectory of their career.
Maturity, work ethic, all those things.
So I think sometimes you want to stick to the plan of, hey, this kid's going to sit, but then you got pressure, maybe ownership or the starter's not playing well. You got to be disciplined with it, because then you can inadvertently hurt that kid's career to begin with.
You look at Green Bay. There's a team that's intentional about their quarterback situation. Intentional, I think, is an important word when we talk about the most important position in sports. So to give you another example, Atlanta, a year ago, they signed Kirk Cousins to a big contract. Then they draft, surprisingly, Michael Penix at 8. And the world killed them. I was sitting in my house going, I friggin' love that, because you're finally intentional about the position, and forget about whether the players are good or not. Okay, that's plug a name in, you made the picks. I'm talking about the philosophy of trying to protect that position for the next 14, 15 years by having Kirk Cousins take the reins early, play well at a certain level, and then hand it off to Michael Penix when it's time. And I thought that was fantastic. So you've got to have a plan and stick to it. You mentioned Blake Bortles. There's 1,000 of those things where ownership or the fans, the pressure, the coach is going to lose his job. All those things play into it, and you ruin a young, talented player.
One of the more compelling stories for me this season was Phillip Rivers. The fact that we have a quarterback who's been retired for 5 years, who's in his mid-40s, is that an indictment of quarterback development? We're seeing a lot of great young quarterbacks, but we're seeing a lot of young quarterbacks wash out very early as well.
He was a high school coach and 45 years old, and he walked in knowing more than any of the quarterbacks on the field did. I mean,
because he played for 20 years or whatever. I might be.
Yeah, he's got a bank up here.
So this is the thing that jumps out to me. The young guys have the tools, the physical tools, but not the mental acumen yet because they don't have the reps. The older guys, like a Phillip Rivers, comes in, he has the mental acumen. I mean, he could diagnose a defense. Like, go ahead, confuse me.
Old guy? A young guy,
he knows
guy.
what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the tools to maybe make all of the throws anymore, but we can adjust for that.
Right, and to expect that you're going to draft a kid and put him in there day one on a bad football team and have him lead you, all the boats get higher and all that stuff. It's just, unless it's a rare dude in a rare situation, it ain't happening.
Mark, do you think that the portal changes this a little bit? Because it seems to me that you have more data. Like, I'm a data person. And now you've got a portal system that is, in essence, Sam talked about the knowledge of the crowd. Well, now you've got people co-signing. Like, he's good, pluck him up. He's good, pluck him up. And sometimes it happens twice. You're transferring up. And then also, you're seeing him in different systems. You're seeing him in different languages. You're seeing him in different environments. And if they can continue to succeed, if they keep transferring, then that means all of them have worked out well. Does it help you narrow down who those guys that might succeed right away might be?
I think it helps if they've been through a couple different systems, but it also depends, I think, on their aptitude themselves. Like, can they process the different scenarios and situations that go into those offenses? But I think it can also be deterrent because they're jumping from one system that they kind of fit better, like you said, into another one. So I think it's a case-by-case basis, but I think it definitely just depends on the football intelligence and aptitude of the individual player.
So before he decided to come back, I think of Dante Moore, who played at UCLA, had a season starting at Oregon as well, versus a Fernando Mendoza who had more starts under his belt. How much do you value having that bank of college starts?
I think it's important, but times are changing, quite honestly. I mean, back in the day, we were talking about this before the show. Coach Parcells wanted to have at least 25 starts in college.
Minimum 25.
That's different now. I mean, I look at Anthony Richardson from Florida, very talented kid. Colts drafted him. I think he only had 13 starts. Yeah. It's a trend, and I think some of it too is they finally get that starting gig and like, okay, I kind of arrived. Let's try to jump into the NFL situation. So
I like seeing 2 or 3 full seasons of starts, just because for our data points, watching the film, you get more confirmation or less, but at least your eye is satisfied.
Mark and Mike, you've been around so many great young quarterbacks who got to be future All-Pro Hall of Famers. Do you have any stories of being boots on the ground and learning what it's like to learn their process, their preparation? Any stories about finding a great young quarterback that you knew was going to be a future great?
Well, I was in Indianapolis when Peyton was there, but I didn't find him. But being around the building and just seeing how he handled himself, the guy was a fierce competitor, super detailed, high expectations for others. Like, if you're at practice and guys weren't catching the ball, he's not going to throw you the ball. And I kind of saw a little bit of a glimpse of that too towards the end when Tom Brady's last year in Tampa Bay. Very similar type of guys, just highly driven, extremely competitive guys, and that's one of the things you're looking for in a quarterback. It's non-negotiable.
Correct.
They need that, especially if you want to have a good one.
So Matt Ryan, I was doing the draft for the NFL Network. Quarterback gets drafted, I forget, like 4th, 5th round to Atlanta, where he was. Before I even have a chance, my phone's here, and I'm talking to Rich Eisen, and we're going to talk about this quarterback. I hear my phone like ringing, buzzing. So we finally go to commercial break, and I look over, it's Matt Ryan, and he's like, "Tell me what your take on this kid is. How smart is he? Can I use him to help me prepare during the week? What's his knowledge of blitz and blitz pickup?" Like, it wasn't even announced, and he was looking for information as to how that kid could help the team.
Oh, you're saying when he was the Falcons quarterback, He's asking
Yes.
you for intel
Matt-
on the draft?
Yeah, Matt
I
Ryan.
thought this was a Senior Bowl Matt Ryan. Okay.
No. This is Matt Ryan, the all-pro quarterback, texting me in the prime of his career because he knows how to prepare. And what's really important to a lot of, like, you can talk to Tom Brady, you can talk about the Mannings, like, they use the young quarterbacks to help them get ready each week by having them watch certain different reels of tape. By the way, that helps development of a young quarterback.
So we've talked a lot about how you know whether or not a quarterback has the tools to succeed in the NFL at the very beginning of their career. What about the end of their career? And when you know whether or not the tools are still there to continue being good? Every athlete has a shelf life. Here's strange but true. How old is too old for an NFL quarterback? We love having these kinds of age cliff conversations in sports, but this one is really tough to nail down. Partially because of that guy, but also because so many quarterbacks lose their jobs for reasons that have nothing to do with physical decline. And those who stick around long enough for that to actually become a problem are a really small group. But within that small group, the year to watch seems to be 39. And the thing to watch is how far and well they continue to throw the ball. Average depth of target and accuracy. We often see one or both of those things drop, sometimes dramatically, right before a quarterback hangs it up. It has to do with arm strength. Roethlisberger, Breeze, Rivers, Eli, all of them retired after 39, all saw a drop in ADOT at the end. Peyton Manning's ADOT did not drop, but his accuracy did. Completion percentage over expected, negative. Touchdown to interception ratio, upside down. Age? You guessed it. And I bet you'll guess what age Aaron Rodgers was when his stats started to drop. That last year in Green Bay, he was 39. Lowest touchdown to interception ratio of his career, lowest win probability added to. And that last year in New York, his lowest ADOT.
You know, I really love that metric because we're seeing older quarterbacks have staying power in the league. Always wondering where that drop-off really starts.
Yeah, well, apparently it might be 39, or at least that might be where it ends, I guess, is one way to think about it. Interesting note there. We had an incomplete data set when we did that piece because it was in the middle of the season. Aaron Rodgers' average depth of target went down even further this past year in 2025 to 6.39. So from 6.38, which was the lowest of his career, to 6.39, it just continues to go down.
At the end of the day, and it's kind of like one of my buddies told me, like when he first got in the league, you know, the elevator for his ability was way up here physically, and his mental ability was down here. And as it went this way in the league, it went like this, to the point where the physical ability, which is what those analytics are saying, they're way down here, but your mental acuity is still all the way up here. We saw that with Phillip Rivers.
Can't outrun Father Time. So.
Never outrun Father Time.
Well, they say youth is wasted on the young.
Yes.
Well, thank you to our team at Sumer. Thank you, Eli Manning. And remember, draft night is loud, but evaluations are quiet. And we live in the quiet. Until next time.